Good day again, New Heights. And now is a perfect time to continue our study of the Gospel according to Luke. We are now in chapter 6, and for today we will discuss verses 43 to 49. So in this passage, Jesus made two illustrations here. The first one, which we can see in verses 43 to 45, is about the good tree and the bad tree. Basically, the point is good trees cannot produce bad fruit and bad trees cannot produce good fruit. Siyempre, kung ano yung tinanim, yun din yung ibubunga, di ba? So if you have an apple tree, alangan naman orange ang ibunga nun, di ba? Or kung nagtanim ka ng pinya, alangan namang gabi ang makuha mo. Okay? So what you plant, what you sow, is what you reap. So may parang equivalence doon. So in a way of saying, if our hearts are good, then we produce good things. And if our hearts are bad, we produce bad things. Okay? Mabuti yung puso natin, pero masama yung ginagawa natin. Baliktad. Hindi rin pwede na masama yung nasa puso natin, pero puro mabuti yung ginagawa natin. It doesn't follow. It doesn't work that way. So the lesson here is what we do and what we say flow from the attitudes of our hearts. That's the first illustration. Second illustration is that a person that listens to the teachings of Jesus, he compared it to a person who either builds his house upon a rock, like digging a foundation deep underground until they strike rock and put the foundation of the house on that rock. It could also be a person who builds the house with the foundation directly on the ground. Hindi na naghukay. Okay? So there's no strong foundation. So according to Jesus, people who listen to his teachings and apply them in their lives are like the person who builds his house upon a rock. So naghukay muna siya, naghanap na magandang pundasyon para sa bahay niya. So if a house is built on this rock, kung raragasa yung baha, the house will still stand. Hindi babagsak yung bahay. Kasi nga yung pundasyon niya solid. Okay? Whereas the other person who built his house directly on the ground with no firm foundation, kung babahain niyan, madadala yung bahay niya and the house will crumble. So yun daw, sabi ni Jesus, yung mga tao na nakinig sa salita niya pero hindi naman in-apply sa buhay nila. So those are the two kinds of people, according to this illustration. So what can we see is the main point with these two things? So ang sinasabi ni Jesus dito, the very important thing that we need to examine all the time is the conditions of our hearts. So the conditions of our hearts matter the most to him. It's not really what we do or the words we say as much as what's in here in our hearts. So if our hearts are in the right place, then our words and actions will reflect that. So if our hearts are evil, ang mga balak natin puro masama, mga intensyon natin puro baluktot, taliwas sa salita ng Diyos. E di ang mga actions natin, yung mga gagawin natin sa kapwa natin, puro masama. Okay? Magiging malupit tayo sa kapwa. We will not care about other people. We will keep thinking about ourselves. Okay? Magiging selfish tayo. Makasarili. Okay? Hindi na natin iisipin yung kapakanan ng neighbors natin. However, if our hearts are in the right place, then syempre, ang mga gagawin natin, mabuti. The words that would come out of our mouth, mabuti. Okay? And how people will see us, they will see us as people who really are followers of Jesus. Speaking of which, if we are indeed followers of Jesus, and if our hearts are right, they are set on him, this is another good question. How do we treat the teachings of Jesus? So let's look at that part again. More than reading about what he has done and listening to his words, what do we do with those things we hear and see and read? Kunyari, nagbabasa tayo ng Bible. Nabasa natin kung ano yung ginawa ni Jesus, yung mga commands niya. So what? What's next? Anong gagawin natin doon sa knowledge na yun? So if our hearts are truly in the right place, what Jesus was saying in the second illustration about the houses and the foundations is that if we obey the words that we listen to or the words that we've read in the Bible, then our foundations are strong. We build our houses on strong foundations so that when the floodwaters come, hindi tayo maaanod, hindi masisira yung bahay natin. So we can think of these floods as the problems of life. Like yung pinagdadaanan natin ngayon, COVID-19, quarantines and lockdowns. Yung trabaho natin suspended, hindi tayo basta-basta makalabas. We cannot do the things that we used to do before. We can't have fun the way we used to. So it's a big ordeal. Para siyang baha, in a way of saying. Hindi nga lang tayo binabaha ng tubig, binabaha naman tayo ng virus. Binabaha rin tayo ng takot, anxiety, and feelings of despair, depression, and sadness, loneliness. Yun yung bumabaha sa atin ngayon. But if our hearts are in the right place, and if we follow the teachings of Jesus, waepek yan. Waepek ang baha. These floods of negative emotions, sickness, disease, will have ultimately no effect on our lives. Yes, maaaring maapektuhan tayo physically, maaaring magkasakit tayo, maaaring dapuan din tayo ng COVID. God forbid, I hope not, but it's certainly possible. However, even if these things happen to us, like the house that was built on a strong foundation of rock, we will not be swept away. We will not be shaken. Hindi tayo magiging desperate. We will not act according to our feelings of desperation, but we will act according to what Jesus wants us to do. Ganun yun. So if our hearts are right and we build our houses on strong foundations, then any sort of flood, including COVID-19, will ultimately not affect our lives. So I hope that you learned something, and let's continue to trust in the teachings of Jesus and follow them in our daily lives so that when floods like this come, it won't affect us too much. Good day, and God bless.